I bought all of the top selling fragrances from Floraiku. Here are my thoughts. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. As I just said, I purchased a best-selling kit, a sampler set from Floraiku with all of their bestsellers. There's 11 different fragrances overall, and I want to go through them with you, and we're going to be ranking them from 11th being the worst to number 1, which I thought was the best. So right off of the bat, I'll tell you about the presentation of how this set came. Floraiku is a niche brand. They are not cheap. I believe this discovery kit was somewhere around 60 bucks. All of the fragrances themselves, if you buy them from their website, they're like $350. If you buy them off of FragranceNet or other discounters, I think you can get them for more like 150 bucks, but these are not cheap, guys. Yeah, so here are my thoughts. It comes with this nice little container that holds all of them, and then it comes with a little sachet, kind of in that Asian style, where it's written on here, "The dark side of flowers, perfume as a poem, oh Floraiku." And there's a small poem in the form of a haiku about each fragrance. So it gives you a whole little guide of all of them with the haiku poems, and then with some watercolor descriptions to kind of match each one. So let's just run through all of them. Let's start at last place. The one that I liked the least was called I Am Coming Home, which I just checked their website. Yeah, that's 350 bucks on their website. So I would not recommend this one. It's secret teas and spices. So it's ginger oil, white tea, and cardamom oil. Really, overall, it's just sort of a spicy, gingery fragrance, very light. And this is something I've noticed about all of the Floraiku ones. The performance is not very strong. So these are a little bit more delicate, a little less high performance fragrances for you. I just didn't find this one very special. It's mostly just a nice kind of white, crisp ginger. Each of these, they're very simple note-wise, and it smells kind of simple as well. So that's kind of their theme, and I get that. That's totally fine. It doesn't have to be the most complicated fragrance ever. So that's fine. In 10th place, I got the Moon and I. So the Moon and I. This one is Mate Absolute, matcha tea, and cedar oil. And really, most of what you get is just this weird, dirty cedar. It's not very pleasant. You don't get a whole lot of that green matcha tea that you would expect out of it. I didn't really like that one. So I'm gonna rate this first one, I'm Coming Home, at maybe a 5 out of 10, and then this second one is probably a 5 out of 10 as well. Just, right in the middle. So next one we have is Sleeping on the Roof. So I'll admit, Sleeping on the Roof, not terrible. It's just a general floral fragrance. Some greenness added into it, almost like green leaves. So Sleeping on the Roof is Lily of the Valley, Orange Blossom Oil, and Amber Musk. Really, you just get kind of a green lily out of this one. So a green lily, general floral, nothing very special out of that one. I'm gonna give that one a 6 out of 10. So next one, My Shadow on the Wall. So My Shadow on the Wall is Violet Leaf Absolute, Mimosa Absolute, and Sandalwood Oil. And in the dry down, after I just sprayed this a second ago, the dry down is better for sure. There's definitely more of that kind of sandalwood and some vanilla in there that they're just not telling you about. But especially in the initial spray, the Violet Leaf Absolute gives kind of a gasoline-y smell that I really didn't care for. So overall, maybe a 7 out of 10. Really didn't care for that one very much. Next up, yes, okay, so we have Just a Rose. And really, the name is exactly what you would think. It's just a rose. Definitely more of a feminine fragrance. There's nothing very special about it. Just kind of a pink rose. Nothing very special. Probably a 7 out of 10. Okay, next we're getting into First Dream of the Year. Okay. First Dream of the Year is Grapefruit Oil, Orange Blossom Oil, and Iris Concrete Absolute. It's definitely more citrusy. It's got some florals in there, so maybe some orange blossom florals in there. You don't get a whole lot of this Iris Concrete Absolute, which means they made a concrete out of it. So they got this iris, and then they created a kind of a sticky, just super evaporated concrete solution out of it, and then somehow they made an absolute out of that. It should just be really concentrated iris, but you don't really get a whole lot of that iris note. It's mostly just grapefruit and orange. So not bad for a summer fragrance. I would say spring, summer. Very light again, like with a lot of these other fragrances. So I'm gonna say maybe 7.5. So as you can see, the ratings are getting a little higher as we go. The next one we've got, So Young at Heart, again, another kind of general floral fragrance. Nothing super special, almost has sort of a peony type smell to it. This is definitely more feminine. I would say spring, summer, very, you know, not super special or anything, probably a 7 or a 7.5. Really nothing to write home about though. Okay, next one, Forbidden Incense. Okay, so Forbidden Incense is definitely a little better. It has some powderiness to it, some orris almost. Powdery, earthy, a little bit of incensey vibes in there, but it's subdued by this kind of sweet powderiness. Overall, very pleasant scent. I would say this is a more luxurious fragrance, a little bit more versatile than the other ones. And I would say this is truly unisex. So I'm gonna give this one maybe a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10. Maybe 7.5. Next one, Between Two Trees. Okay. So Between Two Trees, as you would expect, it's very woody. It's got grapefruit oil, mate absolute, mate absolute, I don't know how to pronounce it. Let me know in the comments. And then vetiver oil. So you don't get a whole lot of the vetiver, which is fine because it keeps it a little cleaner. Yeah, it's mostly just a grapefruit and then a sweetened woods in there. Overall, this is a good fragrance. I would say 8 out of 10. This is probably spring, summer, fall. You wouldn't want to wear this in winter. It just doesn't have enough warmth to it, but it's not bad. It's not bad. This one I'll give the first 8 out of 10. So we've reached 8 out of 10 territory, okay? So next one, yes, In the Rain. In the Rain, I thought was the first of all of these actually that felt truly niche. And I'll talk about it at the end after I review all of them, but that goes to say something about the fragrance company and kind of my opinion about them overall. So yes, In the Rain, very straightforward cedar, but there's some sort of an earthiness to it and maybe a little bit of, so it almost smells like they're using something like a geosmin or isobutylquinoline, something like that that has a certain earthiness to it, maybe a little bit of greenness, but it really smells mostly like damp soil and you know, cedar wood, like you're in the woods. So this one I would say is the first truly niche fragrance that I've seen out of all 11 of them. This one I will give probably an 8.5. Okay, and then first place, you guessed it, you guys saw this one coming. Is it worth the hype? Kinda, yeah. This is called Cricet Song. So Cricet Song, probably their most popular one. Let me find the thingy for it. Bergamot oil, magnolia oil, and vetiver oil. So very nice, pleasant magnolia. It's not as citrusy as a true magnolia though. A true magnolia has a lot more of that bergamot or even grapefruity notes to it, and it just has a tiny bit of that magnolice or magnolan or some of those other, you know, mayol, some of those other kind of general white floral characteristics to it. Very little benzoyl acetate in here. So they did a good job with the magnolia. I don't think that it's very realistic, but that's okay. It does feel truly niche. So this says, Walking in the Darkness, a Cricet Song, how torrid the heat is. So torrid just means hot and dry. So it's just like a hot, dry night, and then I guess you're hearing the cricket song. It doesn't really fit along with the smell, in my opinion, because it's not very dry or hot feeling, and it doesn't feel like this is a summer, I guess it's a summer fragrance, but it doesn't smell like something you would smell in the heat of summer. So anyway, overall, the only two that I would recommend out of this entire group, guys, the In the Rain, and then of course Cricet Song. The other ones, I don't know. I just don't feel like they were very truly niche. They felt kind of a little bit more rushed, or maybe they would be like a nice kind of a body spray or a bathroom spray or something else like that. You know, and they're fine fragrances on their own. That's okay. They can't all be good. But to be honest with y'all, I don't think that I would recommend, even for the price point, I wouldn't recommend either of these at $350 a bottle. These seem to me to be more like maybe a maximum of $200 for a bottle, because these are the only two that feel really niche. The other ones definitely not worth the money. But I would recommend getting one of these, trying them all before you buy, because these, you know, as with any sort of niche fragrances, you're either gonna like them or you're not gonna like them. I recently bought discovery sets from, I would say, maybe 5 or 6 different, you know, major niche fragrance companies with over 100, easily over 100 samples of fragrances. And I have to say that Floraiku was probably one of my, actually it was probably my least favorite of all of the companies. They felt like they were the least worth it. They felt like they were the least niche. So I'm sorry to all you lovers of Floraiku out there. If you're really big fans of Floraiku, I just personally don't feel like they're worth it, and I don't think that I would recommend them to you guys. So yeah, so let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm gonna do more of these where I discover an entire, you know, fragrance brand for you guys, test them all out, or at least all of their best sellers, and then let you know what I think. So subscribe, hit that like button if this is the kind of content that interests you, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.